I think Khabib's an amazing fighter. I think he's done a great job representing the UFC. He's a great ambassador for our sport. But if you were to, ask,
and Khabib had him in his gym every day.
Wow.
He bought, and Khabib is a great guy, right? He bought hotels for him. He'd feed him. He said, just get him here. And dude, they trained for a month. They told me.
Like all MMA fans, Joe Rogan was shocked to see Jon Jones training with Islam Makhachev, Khabib Nurmagomedov, and others. His reaction said it all. We were shocked that two of Daniel Cormier's friends could train with Jones. Their training was already crazy, but this made it even stranger. Jones, Khabib, and Islam were talked about on the most recent show of the Joe Rogan Experience. That's not even funny. I had no idea that would happen. That training can get as many people to watch as a real UFC fight. The training will feature the most intense grappling, strikes, and submissions.
Joe Rogan exposes why Dagestanis never lose.
They have a very, very disciplined camp. You have to have your hair cut a certain way. You can't be fucking around showing up with blue mohawks.
That's one of the reasons why they're all successful. When Khabib walks into the room, it's like an army. We all get up, we all stand in line. He'll point to who's sparring hard in the cage. Most teams I've trained at will have a sparring day like Monday or Wednesday. For them, they're doing everything every day. So you're not going to show up late and smile and laugh. It's like, once he lines everybody up, you better sprint there in that line because he's going to tell you what your duties are for that day. You have to pray 5 times a day in every single.
But then Joe Rogan mentioned Daniel Cormier throughout all of this. Daniel Cormier might not be too proud of this, but 3 of the best UFC fighters were working together, and it's making a lot of noise on the internet. However, the training was definitely something to think about. In particular, where is Daniel Cormier? Because Khabib already stated that he would never be friends with Jon Jones. But before we get there, Joe Rogan will be overjoyed, as he likes Jon Jones more than all of these guys, including Daniel Cormier. He has been a big part of the UFC since his first show in February 1997, when he became a famous announcer. He has called some of the biggest fights in history and predicted shocking wins for people like Islam Makhachev, Joe Jones, Khabib Nurmagomedov, Anderson Silva, and others.
Duties are for that day. You have to pray 5 times a day, and every single one of the guys is doing that. None of their guys are drinking and partying. There's guys that come to practice and they look a little bit tired. Khabib will take their phone away from them. He won't give it to them until the next day, tomorrow morning. You have to go to sleep, and then next practice, he'll give you your phone back because they don't want to lose any round in practice, any minute in grappling.
The comedian is frequently asked who he believes is the best fighter of all time, and he has offered responses over the years, most recently referring to MMA's greatest heavyweight, Fedor Emelianenko, who has never fought in the UFC, on the most recent episode of his podcast, The Joe Rogan Experience. The UFC commentator was asked by his guest, Peter Berg, who he thinks is the best fighter of all time. He reviewed the resumes of several luminaries before settling on Jon Jones.
And when BJ Penn was training with him, he was unstoppable, man. He was like, I always say this, like, people talk about Khabib being the greatest lightweight of all time, and maybe he is. It's very possible he is. But I would put the BJ Penn that fought Joe Daddy Stevenson, the BJ Penn that fought Sean Shirk, the BJ Penn that was like in that peak when he was.
But then there's George St. Pierre, who won many world titles. He won the welterweight belt, then returned after 4 years away to defeat Michael Bisping for the middleweight title. He's also in the argument. But I think there's a big difficulty with claiming the #1 of all time, or the greatest of all time. But if you had to give it to someone, I'd say Jon Jones. Rogan says Jon Jones' drug use adds to his already excellent record. Perhaps what distinguishes Jones is his struggles outside of the cage. He has constantly stayed at the top of the sport despite a slew of issues, including drug usage and even an arrest, which Rogan claims he used as an excuse in the event of a defeat that never came. Jon talked to me about it, Rogan stated earlier in the show.
If you were to, ask, some MMA experts about myself and Khabib, I think most people would be able to tell, just our resumes are completely different.
Yours is much deeper. Yeah.
I've fought so many world champions under my belt that I've defeated. Khabib, a lot of his victories are against a lot of people that are relatively unknown, and where I've been fighting legends since I was a young man.
He added, "When I was younger, I would make excuses for myself. I'd party hard the week before the fight, which is something you should never do, so I thought, well, if I lose, maybe it's because I partied, but he doesn't do it anymore. Instead, he prepares thoroughly. He was the light heavyweight champion at one point, and he liked playing with his food. He wasn't scared by anyone. Therefore, he didn't put on a show like when he won the belt against Shogun Mauricio Rua. He lost some of his motivation, but regained it later in life after going through a series of legal problems. He faced numerous difficulties and understood, oh, this may all be taken away from me. I need to get back to what made me great." Then he won the heavyweight title and defended it against the greatest, Stipe Miocic. And he is now the UFC's heavyweight champion.
I had this crazy thing that I would do where I would party 1 week before every fight, and I did it throughout my whole career, and this was stupid. I literally would go out and I would get blacked out wasted. My logic was, if this guy were to beat me somehow, I can look myself in the mirror and say, I lost because I got hammered.
Previously, Khabib had stated that he could not befriend Jon Jones because of the UFC champion's storied feud with Daniel Cormier, a friend of the Russian icon. Jones fought and beat Cormier into light heavyweight title matches, with Bones winning their 2015 bout on points and their 2017 rematch via knockout. But the latter result was overturned after Jones failed a drug test, the third to occur during his rivalry with Cormier. The pair's first fight was also followed by a failed drug.
Can Khabib Nurmagomedov be considered as the GOAT in the UFC? It's so hard. Obviously, he's talented enough. Who knows what he could accomplish, but he retired too early. I mean, Jon Jones is probably going to fight at heavyweight this year. Whatever you think about Jon, it's hard not to call him the GOAT. Believe me when I tell you I've tried to convince Khabib to come out of retirement. We'll see what happens over the next couple of years, but I feel like he left in his prime. I mean, look at what he did to Justin Gaethje.
Because of the Russian's tight friendship with Cormier, Khabib can only afford so much respect for Jones. "I never had an argument with Jones," Norma said on Instagram in reaction to a video of Jones listing him as an all-time top 5 UFC fighter. "As a fighter, he is great, and it will be difficult to match him, but my friend Cormier is in conflict with him, so Jones can't be my friend. I don't befriend people who aren't pals with my friend."
They fought Sean Shirk, the BJ Penn that was like in that peak when he was training with I would put him against anybody. Against anybody. Against Diego, when he fought Diego Sanchez, he couldn't be stopped. And if you got him to the ground, his fucking submission game was insane. It was insane off of his back. He would take your back.
Despite his several failed drug tests, including 3 noted above and a 4th in 2018, many fans believe Jones to be the greatest fighter in UFC history. Others, however, place Georges St-Pierre and Khabib at the top of their ranks. Khabib, 36, leaves undefeated in 2020 after defending his lightweight title for the 3rd time. Jones, however, is a past 2-time light heavyweight champion who now has the heavyweight title. His single setback was a disqualification for illegal elbows. Despite having won several disputed decisions, Jones filed a serial gain in March 2023 to win the vacant heavyweight title, which he will defend against previous champion Stipe Miocic, November.
Khabib Nurmagomedov reveals he can't be friends with Jon Jones. Khabib Nurmagomedov recently shared a video of Jon Jones including him in the list of top 5 MMA fighters ever.
My top 5, Khabib Nurmagomedov.
Khabib said he respects Jones, but he can't be friends with him because of his rivalry.
Cormier and Miocic had their own rivalry, albeit a far more respectful one, as they fought for the heavyweight belt 3 times. Cormier beat his compatriot in 2018 to earn the gold, but lost it again in a knockout in 2019. Miocic went on to retain the title on points in their 2020 trilogy battle. Cormier retired following that contest, and he has kept a close bond with Khabib ever since.
I never had any disagreements with Jones. As a fighter, he is great. It will be hard to match him. But my friend Cormier is in conflict with him, so Jones can't be my friend. I don't befriend those who aren't friends with my friends.
That's it for now. Stay connected with us by subscribing to our YouTube channel for the most up-to-date news, events, and actions in the boxing industry. And don't forget to switch on notifications to be informed when we post quality contents like this. Until next time, peace.